Okay. I think the first the VC is the best way to get a VC is probably get an introduction from existing entrepreneur or someone who know the VC. So that is important. I think I think today's environment is, despite the fact that internet connection or things like human connection is still very important. So referral from someone you know who are reputable, who have connection to VC is going to be absolutely critical. But I think that when you approach a VC, I think a lot of VC, the Saudi VC, looking at, do you have money in skin in the game, right? If you don't have skin in the game, and I mentioned about OPM, the probability for you to raise money is really low. And on statistically, you probably on average you probably raise money. You probably need to approach 50 to 100 VC before you get one. So actually, approaching VC is a full-time job. So I do not want you to underestimate that.
I see. Thank you. So Chris, any comments on this?
Yeah. So we did a little bit of talking with VCs, and like I mentioned, we ended up not needing to raise money so far. But I know a lot of people who have raised money from VCs and have been in Silicon Valley and saw raises of many tens of millions of dollars. My biggest advice, I would say, is to understand what you're selling and what they are buying. There's different VCs have different focus, so there's different ones who you specifically are going to be better matched with. Be very, very prepared for that. Look at what kind of investments they tend to make. Also, if they already made an investment in the space that you're in, don't be a copy of somebody they've already invested in. YP's conversations or suggestions about warm introductions and the people factor, that's really, really important. One, I think, really good model for approaching VC is to think of it like when you're dating in high school or something. It's a dance, and you're going in and you're trying to see if there's a fit. And so in that sense, you need to know something about them, and you need to be offering them something of value. A lot of times it's actually something that is low risk, not high risk, even though startups are, most people think of startups as a high risk venture. Actually, VCs generally, because they want to make money over the course of like 7 years, 10 years, they want to double their money over a portfolio of companies. They're actually pretty low risk. And that's why they go after like, a market place that has like a lot of people already in it. They want to be the first there. They know there's a lot of money there. So just be aware of that, what they're looking for when you approach them. And of course, numbers matter a lot, but a lot of the principles that you have in dating or dancing is actually very applicable when you talk to VCs.
Yes, thank you. I see George Wu raised his hand. George, you have any comments? I guess not. Okay, and I can make a comment a little bit here too. I think actually my previous company, we went through Series G round. So we went through 7 rounds of VC funding, and I think what VC is looking for is actually track record, as YP point out. You need to know someone, so they like to see the good track record. So usually you would probably need to have a team, and your team member would have some track record. That would be good. And so for an early startup, you may not want to go directly to VC. You may go to angel investor, or there are those companies, they are kind of providing seed funding. So you may start from there. And then once you're ready for VC, you probably need to have a pretty good team already, have a good business plan with some good track records at that point. Okay, so if George doesn't have any comments, let me go to the next question. Do you have any advice for presenting your startup to both the public and investors, or should you let the product speak for itself? Who wanted to take this one?
I can talk about that because we're actually in the middle of asking a lot of these questions ourselves. So, we're a technology company. We spent, 8 years really developing technology, getting 2 products off the ground. So, on average, something like 4 years for each product. And you start out with the sort of organic, exposure to the market, and so you find people who will need to use your product, and you solve a big pain point for them. And then if they're high enough profile, then they will tell their friends about it. And that's the early type of marketing, because you don't actually have resources for marketing usually. Then at some point, you need to start thinking about what marketing and sales looks like. And so we're at that point where, we have a few very high profile customers. They're telling friends about it, and the signal is good. And we need to change our company from something that's more technology focused, development focused, into a sales and marketing organization with sales and support and all that stuff. And so there's different specialists at different stages. And so when you're early, you don't have a lot of bandwidth. So you need to focus on a few, a very, very small, tight, narrow niche. And then from there, just hit it out of the park. And then, like James said, that track record will carry you in the same way it will carry you with venture capitalists. It'll carry you in the marketplace with the customers as well. So our story is still being told. And YP, for example, will have more understanding for like consumer marketing and that sort of thing. But for us, definitely, it's something that you have to be kind of deliberate about and really be able to show your strengths in terms of how you're building your brand and how people find out about your product. I mean, that's really critical.
Yeah, let me jump in a little bit here. I think that when the startup founder come to me this day for potential funding, the first question I ask them is that, do you put your own money in, right? And to me, that's the limit test. If you truly believe it, you put your capital in place. To me, that is probably the best confident investor could get. Because that, to some extent, the investor does not mind to lose money. But when they lose money, they want to make sure proportionally the startup founder lose more. Because at the end of the day, the investor is not going to be there monitoring every single minute, every single hour, 24/7. So to some extent, it's a trust placed on you. What is the best trust you need to show the investor is that you got to put your money where your mouth is. For all my startup, actually, I did not really go out for money first. The one that I go out for money first, that was the one who failed. Okay, because at the end of the day, if you got to have so much conviction on yourself is that this is a great startup. I will put my own money on risk. And then you have a different mindset. You will do things very differently. You focus on create value, not focus on OPM, other people's money. If you don't have that kind of mindset, I normally stay away from it. So ultimately, the litmus test is that you think it's such a great idea, you want to invest in money. Are you going to put your own saving? Are you going to put your 401k? Are you going to put your parents' retirement money in your startup? If the answer is yes, I will start looking at it.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so I guess we can go down the next question now. I think it's from Ed, I believe. Is it worthwhile pursuing SBIR and the government contract? Any downside?
Chris probably have more insight on that.
Yeah, and I think James too, because James has raised a lot of government money as well. It's awesome and it's terrible at the same time. So one way to look at it is through the risk reward standpoint. So like VC money, for example, you get it. There's no strings attached really, other than that you have to return 1,000x or you have to aim to return 1,000x. But there's lots of people who they get the money and they just, they spend it, they buy a Ferrari or something and run away with it. Kickstarter is similar like that. But, ultimately you're trying to return value, right? In SBIR, the hit rate is pretty low. It's like something like 12-15% right now. And so one way to think about it is if you spend 1 month writing an SBIR, the expectation value of the money, which is like usually like $125,000, is about 15%, right? So it's like $10,000 or $15,000. That's like nothing. You can't do anything with that. And so that's why it's important when you write SBIR, either you have a very, very high probability you're going to get it, and usually you have to set these things up beforehand, talk to the project manager, really understand the market, or have a bunch of customers lined up before, kind of like Kickstarter. Like with Kickstarter, you have to show up pretty much with a finished product before you even start your campaign. You have to already spend $500,000. So in that sense, this is really, really bad for you as a company. And we had a lot of opportunities to do SBIR. There's big problems with SBIR also in the context if you come from academic, because academic funds, the overhead is actually on top. And so if you're at like Harvard, for example, if you get $500,000 for a government grant, they get $400,000 above that in overhead. And for a startup company, you only get something like 15% maximum, or even 10%. And so 125K, the overhead comes out of the 125K, and you get almost no profit out of it. So it's a really bad deal. But the good deal, the good aspect of it, there's actually many. And we did our NASA work with SBIR, and it's that you're actually competing in the marketplace. And it's kind of like freemium if you think about it. You're doing a high technology play. You're saying, okay, I have buyers, I think, and the government is going to be my first buyer, and they're going to get it almost for free. And what ends up happening is that it gets pre-competed. And so this is very interesting. So some multi-billion-dollar companies that do defense contracting, for example, they will have a product that they competed on SBIR like 15 years ago, and it's already been competed, so the government doesn't have to do sourcing on it. They don't have to do public bids, and that means that they can just, if somebody wants a product, they'll just buy it off the shelf, and it's super fast. It really compresses the sales cycle for government sales, and it's also market, it's marketing, it's market confirmation, and it also helps you have accountability really, really early on. And so when you do SBIRs, I wouldn't structure it like, just to get SBIR for 125K, because like you're just not going to be able to do anything with that. That's like one salary basically and a little bit of equipment. What you want to do is you want to say, I really have a commercialization story here. And so for our NASA story, we're in a phase 3 commercialization, and that's pretty hard to get to because you have to go through phase 2 also. You have to finish your phase 1, finish your phase 2, get to phase 3, and then you're basically in partnership with the government to provide a commercialization value to the market. And then on top of that, there's certain protections, like the government will actually give you the right to the IP, which is really awesome. And VCs will take a cut. And then if you do partnerships or investments with other companies, or you do development on customer funds, if you're on a contract with them, sometimes the IP has to be shared. So those are big advantages of SBIR.
I see. Yeah. Okay. Thank you for Chris. I guess I can comment a little bit. Actually, we benefit. Our company benefit from SBI quite a bit. Actually, over the years, we got about maybe 16 million out of SBIR grants. We kind of start with phase 1 grant to begin with, but later on, right now, when we do the grant, as Chris pointed out, that we go for the fast track, which means the phase 1 plus phase 2, you have to have a commercialization story. So most of the SBIR we are getting is about like more than $3 million for like 4 years type of SBIR, which is pretty good for company to have enough stability. So for us, we feel that that's pretty good. And also SBIR is pretty much government charity in some sense, I guess, because basically all the IP, everything created from the company, pretty much, owned by the company. So it's very, very good deal. And also in our case, we most of the time we share half of the budget with our collaborators like Harvard University, UW. So we kind of nurture the relationship between our company and some other researchers or customers in the field. So that tend to be quite useful. Also, the SBIR, not only phase 1, phase 2, actually there are phase 3 also. So your government could actually sponsor even more researchers. And nice thing about SBIR is that every proposal goes through rigorous review by review committee, and then they actually provide their feedback to you. And so you can also learn to mature your ideas and to kind of not only get the funding, also you can maybe shape your business through that process as well. Actually, myself, I sitting on one of the panels and SBIR review panel. So far, I reviewed probably more than 500 proposals over the 4 years now. So I kind of pretty much have a good varieties of proposals, and it's kind of interesting. So I would encourage you to explore that, especially for the early stage, because SBI give you some, even the hit rate is low, but once you hit it, then at least you give some stability. You can kind of get started there. Okay, so let me see. The next one is, what are the general attitude in VC community on the emerging technologies such as emerging technologies such as driverless car and quantum computing, etc. Anybody want to maybe either Chris or YP wanted to make some comments?
Well, I don't have much comment other than the fact that both of these fields require deep pocket and deep technical expertise. And I think that you want to get in this game, and you need to realistically have a really strong, unique technical background advantage. And then if you a primary driver is to start this business and to be acquired, all I can say is good luck.
Yeah, I think my comments, I mean, on those big topics, because big companies already play in that field. So maybe if you have a niche within, like, for example, driverless car, maybe you have a niche in the sensor itself or something, then you're hoping your exit strategy will be to be acquired by those companies. Then those big companies, then maybe VC might have some appetite for it. Otherwise, I would think maybe something just I guess not fit their VC's profile.
Yeah, and I'll just add that like from a technology standpoint, there's a reason why these are big right now, you know, so there's some sort of sexiness factor to them, and it's usually because of some, you know, lab-based achievement somewhere. And you know, so for example, AI is a really big right now. So driverless cars, you know, people think is gonna really give it a big bump. So you know, to echo both James and YP, a really good place to look in those areas to have a compelling contribution for something that a VC would be interested in is to say, how can I change the game? You know, all these big companies are doing this stuff. What are they doing wrong? What are they missing? Is there something that I can do that will just completely change the story for what driverless cars can do? And I don't think that exists yet. I think that both of these are really far away, and it's because there's some critical technology that needs to be, you know, 1,000 times better, that will unlock these fields. And I think so much money is being put into them, and really nothing I think is coming out of it that's really practical. And I think it's because there's still a gap somewhere. So look for the gaps.
Yeah, I just noticed that Conrad raised his hand. Conrad, do you have any comments?
Thank you for letting me say a couple of words. I find this fascinating because I believe that there's a lot of similarity between politics and entrepreneurs and startups. The three things that, you know, got me is you have to have passion, and you have to commit and never give up. And that's what actually Chris and YP is talking about. I really appreciate the presentation. That's so wonderful, really well done. I mean, but I do have some specific questions. You know, it even relates to the autonomous vehicle, you know, this technology. Chris just, you know, suggested that there's a gap somewhere, and you know that you can provide value, and this is a big field. The question is whether this technology will be technology of the future, because if it's value, benefit to society, and we have to decide that. Some of us believe it will be, some of us say no, obviously. But that's the essence of entrepreneurship, right? Innovation, the startup. Chris is talking about that too. You have that passion, you have that technology. There's a need for it, and then you position yourself, right? And you keep doing it. And that's my question: is you mentioned about niche, position, and fit, and so the question is, when you are doing all these things, you never give up. The practicality, now I realize it, is the survival you talk about. It's money. That's what YP says. How, in reality, how many people, how many startups, how many dreamers, how many entrepreneurs can survive in this situation? Money is not unlimited, right? So there has to be some market needs that you can. Not everybody can, like James can get SIR to get money to help you going. So how do you? That's the key. How do you keep surviving? Okay, I guess that's the question.
Well, yeah, we'll see who wanted to comment on this. I guess one of the things which I see from YP's presentation about Rumsfeld's comment, right? Go to the wall with the resource you have, which is, I think, is very important, in my opinion, for survival. So you don't want to overly optimistic. Always have enough reserve. Always, have more money than you think you would need. I think that would be the strategy. So there are, two aspects. One is to get more money. The other one is to conserve, and the execution issue also. So that's kind of based on my own opinion. Actually, my previous company, we started, as I mentioned, we went through the Series G. Then we went public. We got secondary offering. We raised $150 million. But we didn't, we have revenue about 15 million, but we lose money. So eventually we got merged, we got acquired. And then that's why when I start newer company, I always very careful about making sure you can make profit, because you run out of money, then you run out of options. That's my kind of personal experience. I wonder, YP would like to.
Yes, okay, yeah. I remember a quotation from father-in-law of a classmate of mine in Hong Kong. He's a billionaire. He said, when you start startup, the upside is always great, but it's the downside that you need to worry about. So when I start my own startup, as I mentioned before, my first startup, I started with $3,000. And in order to pay my expense, I was a consultant part-time to help to pay for expense. So we only raised about $500,000 after our product was successfully installed with a customer. It's a proven technology, and then we get $500,000 afterwards. So my story, maybe I come from an old school. My story is always that you got to really have a viable business before you go out to get money. Because you don't have a viable business, you go out for money, to some extent you are just try to use OPM, other people's money. You are not really serious building a business because you don't have a viable business. You just want other people's money for you to experiment, for you to learn, for you to mistake. And that's the reason why, and I really do not really put money at anybody who do not put their own money at risk. You think about it. I look at a lot of these Microsoft, Amazon.com people, they want to start startup, and they're asking for $50,000. To me, it's pathetic. If they're making $250,000 a year, $150,000 a year, they should have enough saving to pay $50,000 for a startup. Why do they ask other people for money? If they ask people for money, either number one, they have no confidence what the hell they're doing, and number two, they just want to use people's money to make some mistake. And number three thing is they don't know what they don't have what it takes. So basically, why would I give someone who made $250,000 or $50,000 startup, right? And that's me, that's me. That's why, and 99% of people come to me, they don't get anything from me. The best thing is I probably give them some lecture, whether they listen or not. So I just really ask them to think of a bunch of questions.
Okay. Yeah, I think this one. Oh, Chris, you want to?
I have something to say. Yeah,
What
I'll
do you
keep this
say,
short.
Chris? Yeah, I like to hear what Chris has to say.
Yeah, so I think it's a great question about why, why keep going and when to throw in the towel. And so I have 3 ways to think about this. This is the universe perspective, number one. And that's a question, if I don't do it, who else is going to do it? So, driverless cars, somebody's going to do that. I don't need to work on that problem. There's a million people working on that. But, for my particular branch of the problem, for example, with Blade, I want to help people understand the brain. Like 1/4 of the people in the world, in the US, are affected by mental illness every year, right? I mean, that's 25% of the population. Nobody's really working on this. We don't understand anything about the brain. And I think neural anatomy can help us. And so there's no way of getting that data. So who's going to do it? We're the world experts in it, so let's do it. So that's a universe model. Number 2 is a societal one, which is that I think YP talked about this. I could make money. I could go out and be a VP at some company probably, but really, personally, I'm, there's something different about me. It makes me want to work for myself, right? And I won't be most efficient in a corporate world where I have to look for resources and play the politics or whatever I want to be doing. So that's the societal angle, and that makes me want to come back every day. And then the third one is the just personal one, which is like, Steve Jobs talked about this, which is every day you wake up and you look at yourself in the mirror and you say, is this the thing that I want to do today? And if there's too many days that you're not doing that, and it's like, oh, I just don't want to get up, then maybe that's the time to stop. But if you wake up and you're like, oh, I'm going to keep doing this. This is fun. Or even though it sucks, everything's really, really falling apart, I'm going to go step up to bat again and keep this going. That's what's kind of kept me going. And so I do that check-in every day, and I think it's really useful for people to do, or whatever cause they're working on.
Yeah, actually, I want to add what Chris just said. The way I know when I'm going to quit is when I get up, I say, I don't feel like going to work anymore. There's no time I know I need to quit. Because at the end of the day, you don't look forward every single morning. You don't have the passion for it. That's time to get out.
Thank you. So Conrad, you have more questions, more comments?
No more. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. So I guess we have one more question, because in the interest of time, maybe this will be the this one, and maybe we'll take the last question here. But the one is from Ed about what is the experience to share regarding ISO 9001? I guess Chris had some experience on those, right?
Not really. We're actually talking about it right now. The only thing, so we're working with some consultants on that right now. And one thing that I learned, so these people did ultrasound, and they said that when you're really small, that's when you do 9001 or any ISO, because it's so much easier to do it. If you have 50 employees, then it's like 10 times harder. So if you want to get certified and you know where you're going to go, do it early. And that's the advice that is given to me. I haven't gone through the process yet, but we did do space station flight certification, and I would say that that's probably true. Most teams take like 20 people to get through a flight certification to fly something in space. And we had to do it, but we used a lot less resources, and that's because we're smaller. And so I think the advice is just do it early. You have to jump through the hoops. There's manuals for it. You need help when you're small, or even when you're big, but you need help.
So YP, any comment here, or? No,
that's not my cup of tea. And I remember I first involved similar to ISO, the Malcolm Borch Award those days in early 1990. To me, is that we need to try a balance between you focus on create value in the business and do this standard process to get into some kind of business. That's a tough trade-off. I want people to consider that.
Okay. So let's see. Anybody any more questions? I guess if not, I think we are kind of running over 20 minutes now. So I would probably like to close the session. The last and not the list would be I think you can see my screen, right? So this is the first of the seminar series, and every 2 weeks. the same time we have the seminars. So you haven't signed up to the other seminars, please feel free to do so. And the next seminar will be an important topic from Conrad and Nelson Dang about the U.S., China, and Chinese American. I guess the human bridge for better bilateral relations. So I think these are very important topics, and I guess welcome to join. And I personally look forward to that talk as well. So I guess that's pretty much it. Anybody? I think Calvin is the organizer of the whole series. So Calvin, you want to say something to close this session?
Oh, just quickly, it's I really enjoy this seminar. It's the best I've actually have attended. I learned a lot, and wonderful speeches and wonderful answers for the questions. This is terrific. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, I guess thank you very much for joining and for spending your morning on a Saturday with us. And yeah, have a wonderful weekend. And yeah, we'll talk to you and see you again in 2 weeks.